I'm Hugh Miller, and I'm director of the International Paleochronology Group, based in Columbus, Ohio, but we have scientists from France, Germany, Poland, Australia, and of course the United States. And what I do is to guide the organization as best I can with their okay to do research on dinosaurs and other fossils. And what we have here, that we're going to show you in this section, are depictions of dinosaurs worldwide. And they confirm the concept of the paradigm that dinosaurs and humans have coexisted. But the question is when, and that's going to be the subject of another topic later on. But first of all, I want to tell you that I have a Bachelor's of Science degree in chemistry. I am not a PhD. You don't have to be PhDs to do research. One of the top scientists in the world in paleontology is Jack Horner, who he's head of the museum in Montana called the Rocky Mountain Museum, I think it is, and he was the advisor to Jurassic Park. So some of the things we're going to show you here are dinosaurs that have lived in the time of man, okay, up to about 4,000 or 5,000 years ago, okay, at the oldest ages. And so some of them are from the Jurassic. So with that in mind, I will go ahead here and give you a little discovery program, okay? This is a Stegosaurus, and Stegosauruses are supposed to be 150 million years old. And this is in Cambodia. As we see here, it's archaeological and historical evidence for significant catastrophes within the Holocene period. And the reason we're telling you this title is because we gave this poster session at the Asiatic Oceania Geophysics Society Conference in 2015. Okay, we have another poster that we also showed, which will be later in this program. And so this critter here is a water buffalo, I believe. I'm not sure what this one is, but this is supposedly a Stegosaurus. And now, the Stegosaurus here does not seem to have the narrow head as you see depicted. But if the person was looking from a long distance, he may have drawn this in his mind or on some kind of paper, and so it has a fatter head. So that is not something to be disturbed about or saying, well, this can't be a literal Stegosaurus. But this was seen in the jungles, and so this person, this artist, of a period of 1,200 years ago, or maybe a little earlier. But this second group of dinosaur depictions in Cambodia are very interesting, okay, but controversial naturally, because the evolutionary community does not want to admit that dinosaurs and man have coexisted. They claim that they've been gone for the last 65 million years. But here we have a dinosaur that is drawn by the American Indians. It's a petroglyph of a sauropod type animal in Natural Bridges National Monument in Utah. It's made by North American Anasazi Indians that lived in the area between 150 BC, before Christ, and 1200 AD. Okay? And so this has been a controversy in, I think, Nature magazine, where some conventional secular scientists looked at the depiction from a distance using binoculars, and they said, well, that's just a patch of mud, something of that order. And so some people who heard that, who believe that God created these animals separately in the time of the 6 days of creation, as in Genesis, brought a ladder with them. And it took a while to get the ladder down there. You know, it's not a short walk. So they put the ladder up, and traced it out, and this is definitely impinging some kind of a tool to make this dinosaur. And Nature magazine, as I understand, was very unhappy with the secular scientists who were disparaging this print, okay? And here is dinosaurs modeled in Mexico and South America. And these over here also. So this is Waldemar Julesrud, a German scientist, an archaeologist, discovered clay figurines buried at the foot of El Toro Mountain in 1945. Eventually, over 33,000 ceramic and stone figurines were found. These include musical instruments and animal depictions and so forth. And this is the Chupa Picaro cultural artifacts from 800 BC to AD 200. And they did this in clay figurines. Some of them were heated, others were not, as I understand. And so this is, I think, from Peru, I'm not sure. And these are from Peru. They are depictions on stone, very nicely carved on stone, beautiful. These people had talent, just like all human beings have since Adam and Eve. And so they are depicted here, and they're collected by a doctor in Peru. I think he was a surgeon. And these are found, thousands of them are found in pre-Columbian tombs that date from 400 BC to 700 AD. They're engraved andesite stones depicting scenes of all kinds, not only dinosaurs, but many other things, including, we understand, pornography and so forth. The gentleman who we know went down and met with the doctor and followed up later on. And so this is a dinosaur, and you'll notice that this dinosaur has these kind of spikes sticking up. And this was on a vase, and this is northern Peru. They called the Macha culture flourished between AD 1 and 800. So here we have this dinosaur with spikes, and no one ever knew the dinosaurs had spikes. But until, I think, in the 1990s, they discovered that the spikes were still on the skeleton, okay? And, well, since we're right here, let's go ahead and talk about, let's go to the mosasaur. This gives you an idea of the how old the mosasaur is when you carbon-14 date it. That's the next topic, is carbon-14, but I'll give you a little introduction here. It's a marine reptile. I think it's about 40, 50 feet long. They were what they call aquatic lizards. They're extinct, we think. Somebody, I think, claims that they are still floating around somewhere. Anyway, you can go on the internet and find that, or maybe it isn't a mosasaur, maybe Meg, the movie Meg, Megasaurus or something. So, evidence of collagen was found, but it's a very small amount of collagen, very small. And it dated the bone sample accidentally. The reason I say accidentally, they needed to clean up the bone sample and to do some testing as to how much of the original carbon was left in the bone. They discovered that, but in the process they had to use the accelerated mass spectrometer, so they come up with a carbon-14 age, which is what accelerated mass spectrometers primarily do. And so they got an age of 24,600. But they claimed that even though sufficient carbon-14 exists in all dinosaur bones, that we and several other scientific teams have tested for carbon-14 content, they thought this could not be. In other words, how can this be? Because we're saying that they died out 65 million years ago. So they say, well, it must be contamination. And you'll hear that all the time concerning contamination. I'm introducing it to you here because you will get it right away from the secular community. Okay? The most important depiction combination that I think is very telling concerning the validity of dinosaurs and humans living together is this one in Carlisle Cathedral in England, northern England, Carlisle Cathedral. These are depictions of this dinosaur, okay? And they have their necks entwined. And this is, by the way, came from a book by a fellow by the name of Nelson. He published it in 2012, and you go on the internet and find Mr. Nelson and the depictions of dinosaur footprints. He's done a superb job of going overseas and finding these dinosaurs in France, England, and then he's been to Cambodia. And no, I don't think he has not been to Cambodia. My correction. There's two other gentlemen by the name of Pastor Swift and geologist Don Patton has been to Cambodia. And I should have mentioned their names previously when we were showing the Stegosaurus. But this is what this critter looks like. Okay, and this is on the burial casket of Bishop Bell, a Catholic bishop, of 1496. Now, whether he picked this up from a book or whether he had people who noticed them in England, we don't know. But there are also some evidence of dinosaurs in Ireland also. Remember, the English Channel wasn't always a channel. It was connected to Europe. So they may have been trapped. We don't know. That's a mystery of history which is up for the talented younger generation that's coming up. So the importance here is the connection, the corroboration between this group, which was found in 1800 somewhere in Syria or in Asia somewhere. I'm pretty sure it was Syria. So their necks are entwined also, the same as these. So that's too much of a coincidence. So I think it shows the validity of all these dinosaurs being seen by man worldwide. And so this may be another set, right? I don't know. I can't recall about that one. But the author here, Mr. Nelson, believes that they may have been fighting or doing other things what dinosaurs did back in those days. So now we go down to this one here. I think this is this. Dire Dragon, United States, Untold Secrets of Planet Earth, publishing company from Red Deer, Canada. That's the gentleman, Mr. Nelson. Okay. And this is from Genesis Park website, David Wetzel, pointing to the circled image on the right is enlarged for clarity. That's this one. It's a dinosaur from Egypt, I believe. Now this one here is a dinosaur from Israel. Notice that these people are throwing rocks at it. And it's got 3 horns. 2 here that look like ears. And there's a horn on the tip of its nose. It may have been a juvenile, who knows. But these guys did not want to see this dinosaur near their compound or their city or their village. They're throwing rocks at it. And this is at Sapphire, Israel, which is a destroyed city by an earthquake in 300 AD. And they found this on the floor in a mosaic. And it's really a beautiful lady is in the center of the mosaic. And this is on the outer periphery along with other depictions of flowers or whatever. And so we are going to talk about this France now. We talked about England earlier. Now this is in France, and it's about dragons that have been depicted by Francois I. in the 1500s. He was a king of France, and he was very interested in books, and possibly his library contained a book with this depiction. And this depiction is of a dinosaur, and they're allegedly these made in Chateau de Blois in Loire Valley in the early 1500s, as we said. Among the furnishings was a tapestry showing dinosaur-like animals, an adult and a baby. I don't know if you can see it or not, but there it is. It's called salamanders, and it's based on a legendary salamander that could survive fire. They became especially popular decorative elements during the reign of Francois I, and a fire-breathing salamander under a crown was a favorite image at a hunting lodge built by Francois I, the Chateau de Chambord. And so this is a depiction here with ornamental wings, which could or could not be a flying dinosaur, we don't know. But they knew more about what they're talking about than we do in history. Now notice the similarities between this dinosaur depiction and this skull of one found in, I think it was now North Dakota. Okay, skull of a dinosaur. Oh, it's discovered in the Hell Creek Formation in South Dakota in 2004. And you can see that it's called a Dracon. I'm not sure of the pronunciation, but Dracoryx hogwartsia, discovered in the Hell Creek Formation. Its name reflects the obvious similarity to dragons such as those described in Harry Potter's books, and thus the reference Hogwarts. And of course, this picture here is of a dinosaur called a Thecodontosaurus. And this is in one of the chateaus of Francois I. So France has these. South Dakota has got a skull that they found that looks like this. So I'm repeating this so that you can grasp the connection between the legends and a real dinosaur skull. Very similar. I want to talk about something very serious now. If we're correct that dinosaurs and man lived together, then the 180 or so asteroid impacts on land masses on the Earth suggest that there would be as many as another 400 or 500 in the oceans, indicating massive tsunamis at some time in the past. And so asteroids are very serious consideration. And here we talk about B612 Foundation has shown that asteroid impacts are probably 6 times higher chances of risk of impacts than what NASA and other government organizations suggest. Now, they could be wrong, but if they're right and we are right, then the asteroids that hit the Earth must have been much more recently, and therefore could possibly have caused the flood of Noah worldwide that is depicted in the Bible very succinctly, even giving the number of days it lasted when it hit, not when it hit, but when the flood started. And they said in the Bible, in the Genesis, chapter 6, I believe, that the fountains of the deep opened up first. And then it rained for 40 days. You didn't get 40 days of rain to cover the whole earth. Okay, but the impact of an asteroid, perhaps, or the fountains of the deep, meaning water reservoirs from under the earth came up, or it could mean just a massive earthquakes caused by perhaps an asteroid impact. We just don't know. But this means the government is not doing their job of protecting us. And even worse are the concept of an electromagnetic pulse from the sun. And that hit in 1859, a very strong one. And the only electrical stuff they had at that time was instruments that sent out Morse codes and reports, short messages. And they all fried. That little bit of numbers that they had at that time in England and the United States were fried. Now, can you imagine what would happen if another asteroid or an EMP hit the Earth? Well, just think about it. We need to contact our congressman and the President of the United States to do something about it. I understand it'll take $2 to $4 billion to protect our grids, our electrical grids, which are unprotected. And unless that happens and we get an asteroid impact or an EMP like the one they had in 1859, look it up on the internet. And 90% of us, according to the committees who studied this in 2008 and 2013, let's say 90% of the American people would die of starvation and societal chaos. Okay, now one of the members that's on that committee is a former chairman of the Republican Party. And he has talked about this. He was on the committee, and he was scolding Congress for not doing something, as well as some Democrats who were involved on the committee. They need to get their act together. That's it. Oh, I forgot this.
Well, you haven't talked about this one either.
This one, yeah.
Up. This
is asteroid. Oh, okay. So this is in Shablinsk.
All right.
Do you want me to talk about that? I can.
What's up to you? We haven't covered it.
Yeah, okay. And this is an asteroid they just missed. And then I can talk more about the... then I can conclude this here.
Okay.
Okay. You ready?
Yes, go right for it. Go for it.
Okay. One of the things I missed when I talked about asteroids was the one that hit Russia, that exploded in the atmosphere in Russia in 2013. Okay? And that's wrong there. It was February 2013. Along with that was an asteroid that flew by the Earth that they knew about, but they did not know about this one. And about 1,000 and some people were injured by flying glass and everything, and by the explosion of this asteroid in the upper atmosphere. If it had been larger and had come into the Russian area, it would have killed thousands of people. But an EMP, like I said, is much worse than even an asteroid. And one just missed us in 2013 that was as large and as serious as the one that hit the Earth in 1859, right before our Civil War in the United States. And so if the one in 2013 had not missed us by 2 weeks in our orbit around the sun, then those of us watching this video right now would probably be dead. Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. There are some very important conclusions and recommendations which our International Paleochronology team recommends. And the conclusion is direct radiocarbon dating. Results for dinosaur bones confirm sedimentology, plume and field studies and laboratory studies by a Frenchman named Guy Berthaud, Alexander Lalemant, and others, which indicate that the sedimentary rocks of the Earth were laid down rapidly, not gradually over millions of years. So the sedimentary rocks you see along the highways that have been cut, dynamited to make room for our superhighways, the nice even strata were laid down rapidly based upon the size of the particles and their density, not by age of millions of years, okay? And also, this confirms the carbon-14 dating and the dinosaur depictions. confirms the crystallography and mineralogical studies by the late Marie Claire von Osterwick, who I know personally, a very fine PhD in mineralogy and biology. She did her research in Africa. God bless her, and she did a great service for the scientific community as well as the people. And the last thing we suggest is that an international conference should be convened to promote new research using paleohydraulic, mineralogical, and radiocarbon dating methods to confirm what you have seen here with dinosaur depictions. We do not know the exact ages, but carbon-14 dating, as we will soon show, could be much older than the real ages like we have seen here with regards dinosaur depictions, which are only in the last 3 or 4 or 5,000 years. Thank you.